Hey guys, how's it going? Muthurajah here, back with a new video lesson for y'all. I haven't posted in a while. I'm extremely sorry about that. I just got back a couple of weeks ago from a little tour. I went to Malaysia, ate a lot, played quite a bit, and it was so much fun. And yeah, I can't think of any other reasons or ways to justify myself for not posting. But another thing I would quickly like to point out is I tend to post primarily when I'm inspired to share something that I start to think about when I'm practicing. Okay, so I've been going back and forth with this particular topic because I don't want to keep people in a gray area. Neither do I enjoy seeing people hurting themselves. Okay, so before I get to the actual lesson, a quick question. I'm sure many of us have tried playing acoustic instruments, right? Acoustic guitar, drums, acoustic bass, even upright bass, violin, and there's a whole bunch of instruments that primarily depend on the actual nature of the instrument, the acoustic nature, to project, even before we look at amplification via a mic or a cable or like a preamp, you know? So when you play acoustic guitar, the initial stages are very painful, okay? To hold down the strings, to strum the chords, you need to be able to project, especially if you're somebody who's trying to sing on top of that. Your guitar cannot be softer than your voice. It has to be kind of on parallel. So I've seen a lot of bass players transition from upright to electric, and they struggle with a touch where they pick way too hard, okay? But when I look at an electric bass, the primary source of projection is the electronics, the pickups, my volume knobs, and whatever else I have on my bass helps project the sound of the instrument. So do I really need to sit down and dig the sound out of it? No, I don't have to. But there is this notion where you got to dig your bass. I agree to a certain extent, but to dig your bass is not literal. You don't want to end up with recurring blisters on your picking fingers, or you don't want to have any kind of wrist pain or forearm pain, because there's all kinds of pain that you can face when you play an instrument wrong. Okay, and this is also something I've noticed with drummers who tend to use electronic drum kits for the sake of keeping things quiet on their gigs. You would hear the sound of the pads. Now the question is, do I really need to hammer at an electric instrument? No. But obviously, from a drummer angle, you compromise your touch and your tone with acoustic drums. So as bass players, if you're somebody who's trying to maintain playing upright and electric, this is your primary issue, to have a good sound on both, okay? Now, of course, this is my personal opinion, but this also has a lot to do with bass playing health. So we're going to look exclusively at our picking hand, okay? So right now I've got both my pickups fully on. I've got a bit of tone, just enough to give me a bite, okay? Now for a second, if I switch to just the neck pickup and I want to play this old kind of sound, you know. Now, how hard am I digging? If I actually turn off the pickup, the only note that's jumping out a little is that accent on top. Okay, so do I need to pick harder than that? No. It sounds good. It feels good. A lot of times people equate digging hard as an emotional way of expressing bass playing. It's not. An emotional way of expressing yourself is to play emotionally, and that is something you don't practice, you know. That's why you can always tell what kind of a character a player is based on how he plays, because you can't tweak the way you are from an emotional standpoint, especially when you put an instrument in front of it, right? So when I use both my pickups and I play the same bass line, I'm actually picking even a little softer, okay, because I have the help from both pickups. Now when I play just the bridge pickup, okay, a lot of you will know I don't use that much tone generally, but I actually started to use that much tone on a live gig. Maybe a little less than that. There we go. Okay, now when I'm playing the quick stuff, you can actually see a change of angle. Okay, as opposed to okay, and when I go to play a fill or a line, my touch mellows down a little bit more. Okay, so over the years I've found different ways to project my ideas as a whole. So when I'm playing grooves, I tend to pick a little heavier, but I don't do this. That is not what I want. In fact, I think that would have, yep, that's clipping. Okay, so that's also a very good indicator, by the way. If you sit down and record yourself and you see things clipping at a fairly decent gain, you don't need to pick that hard. How much harder do you want to pick than what is already electronically amplified? So simple ways to help you get better with this: play as quiet as you can, okay, at a fairly decent volume on your amp. Okay, so right now my gain's at 12 o'clock, my master is at 1, not too loud. My amp is not blasting right now, but what you're hearing, my gain's at 12, my line out is at 12, and I've got a +4 gain on my interface. Okay, for the sake of the lesson, I am running a limiter on the master track. That's just to keep things a little concise. But I play quiet, and then I try to amplify it without actually digging through the string. So, okay, that's a nice level. But now, if I try to play something like Teen Town with that same touch, It's hard, okay? And the reason is because there's a lot happening here with the fretting hand. There's a lot to move around, and there's a lot for this hand to move around too. So over here, I resort to picking a little more with my fingertips so I can still project the notes, still have good sound overall, and not struggle with having to play these notes fully, because I don't have the luxury of playing them with that sound. I have to thin it out a bit. Okay, so no matter what it is that I do, I have to be mindful of that, how my picking a hand works. So if I'm playing this groove, I'm not digging in, but there's an illusion of the groove being dug into, and that's coming from the accent on the top. If I dig in everything, everything becomes flat, straight out, and you don't want that. Sorry. Something with the better, with the gap. So I need to keep things quiet down on the bottom and then pop it up in the top. And how am I going to do that if I only pick one way, which is just dig, right? So it doesn't make a lot of sense when you have pedals and amps and great preamps on basses and just a lot of technology that helps enhance sound, right? If you look at players like Gary Willis, Jeff Berlin, even Hadrian Ferrone, many great bass players, when you look at their amps, especially Gary Willis, it's almost fully cranked up, but there's so much control in the hands. You keep things very chill and mellow. That's what enables them to play 2 hours and shred for 2 hours without feeling tired or feeling any pain or getting blisters and whatnot, right? So if this is you, I highly recommend that you sort this out for the sake of longevity and lasting long as a bass player. All right, I hope you get something out of this, and I'll see you guys in the shed until the next one. Peace.